Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Seahawk Talk here on the Salve Athletics Network. I'm your host, Andrew Pezzelli, and we're coming to you live through Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope through Twitter. Thank you for finding us here on a Thursday afternoon, the final show of 2020, New Year's Eve at last for this year. We've got a great show for you lined up here today. We'll be joined by Kevin Gilmartin, Sebastian Noordzy, and Craig O Rourke II to send us out of 2020 with a bang. Can't wait to talk to them and our producers, but first, as always, we remind you to keep your distance. That is Ed Habershaw with his rendition of Keep Your Distance by The Shake, a Rhode Island-based band with a message that we can apply. We've been a broken record here this whole time on Seahawk Talk, and we'll continue to do so for today and tomorrow, our season finale, reminding everybody to mask up, keep your distance, social distancing, hand washing, mask wearing, all those simple and easy things. We'll remind you to do those each and every day. One of our main producers now, Joey Morelli and Mike DeFusco, to help off today's show. Fellas, Happy New Year's Eve.
Happy New Year.
How are we doing?
I'm doing fantastic now that I see you in that hat. And if I can quickly, you would fit perfectly in with this cast. So, I tried hastily to get you. I tried hastily to Photoshop you in, but I did not have the time. So maybe at the end I'll put you in.
Maybe later if we take if we have to take an extended break at any point, I could go get my three-piece and I could get my jacket out. You know, maybe we'll see. Maybe I do that tomorrow. Maybe I'll show up like this for tomorrow for our New Year's Day edition of the show. You never know. Pocket watch and all.
Yes. Pocket watch. Please do.
What else do you fellas have here to lead us off here? New Year's Eve day. No, New Year's Eve. It's unbelievable. The fact that this year it's been so long. The decade of 2020 has been very long.
Yeah.
You mean all 18 months.
But what do you fellas have here to kick off today's show?
So yeah, I mean, we're hitting the end of the year here, and this first picture. First, you're going to think it's someone, as we were talking about in the pre-show, but also, it's just weird because this is 2020, but it's before the pandemic hit. So if you notice in this picture, the year in review of 2020, no one's wearing masks in this picture because before we knew the pandemic hit. And Joey and Pez, you guys already guessed. So this guy right here, who does he look like?
Oh, we said Seinfeld.
Yeah, it's Seinfeld.
For a minute.
Yeah, from far away, I was like, hey, he looks familiar, but I couldn't figure out why.
Jerry Seinfeld was in town council giving them the business. No, this was actually from January. This was during heated contract negotiations, and a great picture kind of capturing that issue. And I'll go through these again. I won't go through the whole thing because there's about 20 pictures, but I'll go through a couple of them right now.
One for every month.
Yeah, one for every month. This is March. We're moving on to March now. This is when they actually voted to proceed with the St. Patrick's Day parade, which I believe ended up being, we didn't end up having it.
They re-voted like a day later.
Well, yeah, because the governor came out and was like, yeah, don't do this. And they were like, oh, we'll have emergency session to quickly undo the vote, which already undid one thing. And
yeah, didn't they vote like 4 times?
That was
like 3 or 4 times. It was wild.
Yeah, and then the council made in about face days later by the urging of Governor Raimondo. And then you can see still some people went out and we got the mask on, some people without masks on. Yeah, just vibing out on St. Patrick's Day. And then here we go, Pell Elementary School 4th grade teacher gathers Chromebooks, which we actually had that was the first time we got them with senior year of high school. So glad to see everyone's getting those now for their online classes and all that. This is the first day, or one of the first days of the pandemic, and we were in lockdown, and Newport is completely empty.
Whoa, really it's weird seeing open parking spaces.
I was gonna say.
Yeah,
downtown Newport.
Wow.
Yeah, especially that's something you'll never see.
Rarer
So
than
that-
Bigfoot.
Oh, look at this Easter. Some happy photos here. The Easter bunny, if you
Oh, I
can't
didn't
see,
hear about
coming
this.
down. Yeah, see, look at him. He's
That's
coming
cute.
down. Yeah, very cute picture. And I think we'll end on that one right there. And I'll bring in the rest later. But I think that's a good one to end on with the Easter bunny coming down K Street right there.
Awesome. Cool. Can't wait to see the rest of those. Joey, what do you got for us?
So I have a couple things in news, but I know we have time at the end, so I'll bring in some of these other ones. So the first thing I will talk about is 2020 in its final death throes has to take just one more thing from us. Like if you ever play like a first-person shooter game where it's like you kill the enemy, but they like drop a grenade, like that's this. So 2020 is ending, and today, and you're like, oh, well, they can't possibly get anything else. There was one more casualty of the year that was 2020, and it is Farmville. Apparently they're shutting down Apparently Flash as well. They also killed Flash, like Adobe Flash player. I don't understand why anyone would do that, but it's not supported anymore. I guess that goes through today. But yes, Farmville is getting shut down today. I don't know why. It must not be making them as much money. I don't see why they can't just leave it open, but people are very upset about it.
I never got into the Farmville thing, so this one is not like
That
the
was-
final dagger here. But I do know that people did get really into Farmville, so I can understand.
It's just
I
weird.
empathize with
Joey.
frustrations.
It's
Me
just
and
a
Joey,
weird-
that was like-
Yo, that's why I made a Facebook. I literally made a Facebook because
Yeah.
I didn't have like Animal Crossing or like Harvest Moon. I was like, I wanted Stardew Valley, wasn't a thing yet. I needed a farming game. I remember grinding for hours to get an armadillo.
Like, yeah, this is like one of the first socially interactive games, like a
And that's-
Fortnite, where you're playing
that's
with your
what-
friends. It's history. Come on.
On here, it's I don't know about this, but there was something. I think it was the title. It was about Farmville is the optimistic sequel to Oregon Trail. People were saying like Farmville is what made Facebook like a thing, not like it wasn't a. It was the thing that like. Or no, here it is. The game helped transform Facebook from a place you went to check updates from friends into a time-eating destination in itself. And I think that's right. And it's just kind of wild. Like I don't know why they're shutting it down, but it's really funny that it's today. Like it's the very last thing that 2020
news
can
dump,
do.
Joey.
They have
It's the news dump.
Facebook
End
has
of year
so
news
many
dump.
Yeah, I
Facebook has
guess.
so many other issues to worry about besides taking Farmville off. Like, come on, is this really a top?
Well, I'm sure it's not
right now?
Farmville. I'm sure it's that Zynga is going out of business or something. Like the people who make it probably, but it's wild. It's
Yeah, it's a
something.
sad day for kids our age, Joey, for the millennials /
And the grandmas, and the grandmas.
Yeah, well, that's true. We should.
My friend's mom was super into that.
I want to try and find Joey. Did you have something else? Maybe.
Nah, we can wait till the end because these are things we can like actually talk about, like some real news for the end.
I wanted to try and find. Hold on.
Pez, while you search, I'll bring in a couple more of these 2020 picks.
Perfect.
While we're search.
Perfect.
Yeah, no, here you said. Yeah, this one is actually this is where I did want to stop because this is about the healthcare.
Oh yeah, this is a good one.
This is about healthcare, which obviously here at Salva we have so many great nurses and healthcare professionals. So this was cool to see. And then one more below it. Oh, Ruth. Yeah, this one I thought her 89th birthday at assisted living center, and this is a picture of her right here. This one I wanted to bring up because done by our Scott Barrett, who we've had here on the show many times. So I think we'll stop there because the ones below it maybe I'll skip over for now. But Pez, if you got your
Yeah,
thing,
no,
we'll
I just
pop in.
wanted to check something real quick. I just wanted to check our time zones. And so, 8 hours ago, we did it. It is 2021 right now on the planet Earth.
Oh yeah.
So out in Nukhan, Hananik, Russia. So and I'll bring in Google Maps here so we can get the sense of where I'm
The
talking about.
furthest ahead one I know is
Way out here. Way
Ah.
out here. Sarah Palin can see this. Sarah Palin can see 2021 from her backyard. It's there. We did it. The
Oh
planet
my
has
God.
survived. So now we can all eagerly await 2021 making its way, sweeping across.
No, you don't
the
understand.
globe.
It's not 2021 in Japan yet. Godzilla is still an option.
Yeah,
We gotta
each
wait.
region has its own boss that might still
they're
have to overcome.
They're 14 hours ahead of us. We've still got a little bit to go until I don't know. I'm bad at math.
We should never do
Actually,
we
no.
got
I think I'm wrong.
math
I think
on
I'm wrong. I
fire.
did the math on my phone wrong.
We
Hold
got
on.
9 hours, Joey. 3
15
plus 9
plus-
equals 12.
No, never mind. It's 2021 in Japan. I'm bad at math. I did 3 plus 14. It's not 3 o'clock. It's 14 o'clock or 15 o'clock or something. Okay, we're safe. No Godzilla.
Awesome. Anyways, fellas, we're going to get moving along to our first guest, but we'll definitely come back and talk with you guys before the end of the program.
All right.
All right.
All right, that's Joey Morelli and Mike DeFusco, the producers here on Seahawk Talk. We're going to get now to Kevin Gilmartin, the head coach of our football team. And Kevin inspired me today to wear the hat. I saw him pre-show. Kevin, love the hat. You inspired me to go find hats or something I hadn't done on the program yet. So thank you for the inspiration.
Absolutely. I'm always here to inspire you. Happy New Year's Eve to you.
Happy New Year's Eve as well. First, before we tackle some of the stuff, how was Christmas? How's your holiday been so far?
Oh, awesome. Awesome. I mean, nice, relaxing. It was just me and Lainey. We didn't do anything with the family or anything. But we were able to, have some fun ourselves. And then we're also, because we're on the island, there's always tons of things to do. We went down to the beach. Actually, on Christmas Eve, we went down to the beach, and the wind was just smacking us in the face.
Yeah.
It was a blustery day, to say the least, on Christmas Eve. But then we've definitely had a lot of fun, and then since Christmas we've had a bunch of recruits on campus too. So it's good to get people showing off the beauty of Rhode Island.
Nice. How's that going? The recruiting, being able to get people on campus. How is that?
It's good. I mean, it's definitely different, obviously, because of the pandemic and everything. And you can't take them into every building. You got to make sure everything's tested beforehand, and you ask them the symptoms questions. But I mean, anytime you're coming onto our island, you're driving over that bridge and you're looking down on it, and you immediately can fall in love with the place. And I think anytime we get a recruit to have that experience, whether they go into buildings or not, I think it makes a huge difference for us in recruiting. So we'll happily show anybody walking tour around the outside of campus, as long as we're not going in the buildings. Happily show everyone and everyone around there, because then it's still beautiful. I mean, Newport is Newport.
Yep. There's been a lot of debate about this next topic the past couple of years, and I wanted to get your opinion and thoughts on it as a college football coach. There's been a lot of bowl games to watch the last couple of days. Some people say there's too many. And the matchups maybe aren't good. What good is having an 8-3 team play a 2-8 team in a bowl game? What's your opinion? Are there too many bowl games?
Never too many. There's never too many games. I mean, I think everybody wants to play. You go back when Army was set up to play a bowl game, and then all of a sudden, the other team that they were going to be playing wasn't going to be able to play, and so then Army was without a bowl game. And obviously, you heard that story, how Army wanted to play. Players wanted to play. The coaches wanted to play. Everybody wanted to be out there, and then they were able to work it out where they were able to get another bowl game, so they got the bid. So if the players want to play, there's never too many bowl games. You can just keep them going. And as a football fan, I love watching games. So absolutely, the more games, the better. My only thought on some of the things is that some of the teams are all close to the making the Final Four for the college playoffs, and then they're in 5th and 6th, and so then you have the opt-outs because they didn't reach the goal that they wanted. I mean, if instead of more bowl games, you put more people in the playoffs, I think that would be even more exciting. I'm a big believer in every other division has the percentage of teams. Like Division III football, you got 32 teams. Soccer, I don't know how many players, how many teams go into it, but a lot go into it. And football is the only one where it's a much smaller percentage of teams make the playoffs, and there's only 4 for Division I football, and I think that's sad. So I think they should open it up and have more teams, so it becomes more of a challenge at the end there for playoff games.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, some of the argument for having so many bowl games is a chance for an extra opportunity for athletes to showcase themselves and put something on tape and go out there and play a game. And you're right, some of those teams that were just missing the playoffs might have guys opt out of not playing. They don't want to jeopardize their health for the draft or something like that. So then what's the point then? You're losing out because maybe that team isn't at their best. I agree. Open it up. Let maybe 6-8 teams into that playoff and make that more exciting. Because then you'll definitely get people to watch.
You look at Florida, who they just missed not making it in by a shoe, and because of that, they ended up having a bunch of guys opt out, and then they looked like garbage in their bowl game. But meanwhile, on the other hand, you have Cincinnati, who's undefeated. They're having a great year. This is their coach knew going into that season that they were going to have a great season, and they didn't get into it. Who knows, if they're Power 5 or not, but if they're undefeated, nobody's beating them, and they deserve a right to be able to continue to try to play.
I agree. Kevin, this is going to be your final appearance here on Seahawk Talk for season 2. We're optimistic to be totally consumed with time covering games for all of our teams this spring, so there will be no Seahawk Talk in the spring. As you look back, and it's New Year's Eve, so we're looking forward, but we can also look back a bit. What are your biggest takeaways, lessons, thoughts, reflections on what this past year was?
I mean, it was a year to survive in advance, I guess. What you look at is all these different curveballs coming at you, and what you do is you get up and you keep moving forward. And I think that was one of the great things about that football taught me as a player and as a coach and our players. The fact that you constantly get knocked down in football and you got to get up and keep going. And for COVID, they were constantly knocking you down, whether it was a new rule, a new curve about what's happening. So you gotta do this to keep everyone safe, and you keep adjusting, you keep going. But I think that was the biggest thing, is that it kind of made me proud of football, how it has trained us to prepare for things, to where no matter what comes at you, you're ready to survive and move forward. Our players themselves, they did great during the season, during this fall season where we were practicing. We didn't have one positive test for the players while we were practicing, because they didn't want to catch it, because they wanted to protect their teammates, so that they could keep playing, so their teammates couldn't get quarantined. And I think I'm just proud of that. One of the things that went in the record books for us this year for 2020 was first time since football been started for Salve where we haven't lost a game. So an undefeated year, 2020. That's a good thing. We actually didn't even let up a point this year. So it's kind of a record breaking year.
Kevin, you always have incredible perspective to be able to keep things lighthearted and fun. Yeah. Can you say, would this be the most challenging year you've had as a head coach with no games? Yeah,
it was unbelievable. It was so, because you were constantly trying to adapt, and just what are we supposed to do? Just having to get through it and everything. And then it was so tiring. It was exhausting at times, because we as coaches, you couldn't put the entire team on practices, so we as coaches were having multiple practices. I remember one day I went into athletic director Meridian's office, and I was like, we have to find some change or some way, because I might not make it through this pandemic, not because I won't catch anything, just because I might drop for exhaustion. But usually during football season, I'm working 12, 14 hours a day, and I'm driving through it. But you're so motivated that you don't even notice anything. So it was definitely a crazy year, and it's awesome. But I think that's the fun thing about as we as coaches and players, we like challenges, and I think this 2020 was a year of challenges, no doubt about it. And so we adjusted, and we enjoyed it.
Would you say you drank more or less Mountain Dew this year than normal?
Three times actually. I got myself off Mountain Dew completely. I'm currently off of it. I've been off since
an hour ago.
Since Thanksgiving, actually. Since Thanksgiving. And so on Christmas Day, I was thinking about having a cracking. I had a 2-liter bottle right next to the fridge. I was thinking about cracking that open, but just to kind of celebrate Christmas. But I refrained. We'll see what happens. I'm
maybe you crack a bottle tonight at midnight. A lot of people will be cracking champagne bottles, things like that. It's New Year's Eve. Do your family, do you have any New Year's Eve traditions or New Year's Day traditions? For me, it's Chinese food and a couple of movie marathon. And then tomorrow, my mother makes the lentils traditional as good luck to eat on New Year's Day. I think I might eat about 7 pounds of lentils just to make sure we cover the year. But any traditions on your end?
No, there hasn't been many traditions. We used to go into the city when I was younger. We definitely went into the city a couple times. Had some celebrations in there, but then New Year's Day was always about bowl games and football. Now it's bowl playoff games, and so I guess that tradition remains. But no major traditions or anything like that. It's just let's kick off the new year, and hopefully it's a great year. Like Joey was saying, you still got 9 hours until Godzilla could possibly come out in 2020, but who knows? Maybe he comes out in 2021. Maybe 2020 was an easy year in comparison to what 2021 is. So let's count our blessings and be happy with what we have.
Kevin, have anything left to say, kind of as a final year for your final appearance of the year? Next year, any last words?
No, enjoy what you have. Be thankful for what you have. 2020, it was a different year, but it still was a great year. So so be thankful for it and enjoy 2021. And the Salve football family, God bless you, and we'll look forward to seeing you real soon.
All right, awesome, Kevin. Always appreciate you taking the time each and every week, you coaches or players, to come on here and talk with us, catch us up with you and your program. Hope you have a happy New Year's, and hopefully be seeing you face to face real soon.
Absolutely, you too.
All right, take it easy now. That's Kevin Gilmartin, the head coach of our football team. We're going to go next to the head coach of our women's volleyball team, Sebastian Noordzy. Seabass, how we doing?
Good, Pez. How are you?
Good. How was your Christmas? How's the holiday been so far?
It was good. It was nice and relaxing. It was definitely a little bit smaller than it has been in the past, but I was still able to see family, even though we were a little bit farther apart. But you talk loud enough, that all goes right out the window. And with my family, it can get pretty loud sometimes.
Yeah. I was talking to Kevin and asking him, is this your most challenging year as a coach? For you, being, the first year head coach here, is it weird to think this is my first year? Obviously, it's challenging in and of itself. On top of everything you had to go through, it's kind of like, do you feel like things are just going to be? You're going to have so much perspective that there's no way. Now I'm ready for anything at this point. As a first year head coach and going forward, basically out of the fire and ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. When I begun this year, I was a coach at a different college. I was recruiting different kids for a different school. And then I got hired at Salve, and I was like, all right, cool. Now I have my own program. I got to recruit my own kids. And then 2-3 weeks later, not even like months, just weeks, it was like, hey, all right, this thing's happening, work from home. I was like, okay, it's going to be 2 weeks. It'll be fine. I'll get back. And then we just never came back really until students got back on campus. But it's definitely been an eye opener on like what needs to be done. Like certain things just have to be done regardless if there's a pandemic or if it's an average year. So it's definitely been a challenge in my first year, but going forward, it's going to be absolutely put in good perspective. Like I'm not going to say going forward it's going to be easy street, because it's not.
Yeah.
Coaching's definitely not doing that, and athletics is definitely not easy. But it's definitely going to be like, well, at least it's not 2020 where we still get to spend time with each other and we still get to do this and have a little more contact, have games. Like that'll be exciting when that happens. So it's definitely a challenging year, but I picked up a whole bunch of lessons that I'm definitely going to take going forward.
What are some of those? What are the biggest lessons or takeaways you'll have from this year?
I think just be grateful. There's been so many things to be grateful for and, so many things not to be grateful for. But if you just always focus on the negatives and the things you shouldn't be grateful for, like what you hear on the news or what you hear from talking to people who work in hospitals or wherever, it brings you down a bunch. But if you have a good perspective on things and you look at the positivity of what's happening, like, for example, I got to meet a whole bunch of great female athletes and got to spend a good amount of time with them in the gym doing the things that we all love. So we're all great. I'm grateful for them. We're all grateful for the sport of volleyball, and it's been, awesome. And, plenty of other grateful things that we've had throughout 2020, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I talked to Coach Walsh a little bit about this yesterday. I want to get your thoughts on it as well. You talk about being grateful and can't wait to get back for games and everything. I feel like when the reins come off, when we're playing and the veil of COVID is lifted and we're not as concerned and preoccupied with all of those things, that appreciation, that perspective is going to permeate everybody. I feel like there'll be no off days. Everybody will be so thrilled to be at practice, to be playing in a game, just to be having that opportunity, that I would be really stunned if there's any letdown moments, just because everybody will have that perspective of knowing what they lost and now having it in their hands again.
Yeah, you mentioned that word appreciation, and really this time has showed us what we love. And again, for us, it's the sport of volleyball. The first 2 weeks and then going into the months and whatever, that was the longest break I've had from volleyball in a long, long time, since probably high school. And those first couple of weeks, I was like, oh, like, cool, I get a little break, I'm refreshed, whatever. And then I started missing it and missing it more. And then we got to get into the gym, and I got to start coaching again and played a little outdoor or whatever. And I was more in love with the sport than I ever had been before, just because I had that break. I had lost a little bit of it, and like I just wanted it back. It just gave me the appreciation back for it. And you can really see that with everyone. And I'm sure once games start happening, and like you said, everything's going to get let loose, you're going to see people really just enjoying what they're doing. Their love of the sport is going to be back if they lost it ever, and they're just going to be all in, all for it, and just super excited to get to it.
Yeah. With it being New Year's Eve, New Year's Day tomorrow, 2021 is coming. It's already here in some places of the world, but it's coming to the United States soon. Do you have any New Year's Eve or New Year's Day traditions?
No, not really. It's been a lot of variance. Like when I was younger and I was too cool to care, I was just in bed before the ball even dropped. But then as I started getting older, it's like, all right, sometimes I'll let the ball drop. Sometimes I'll be in bed for it. This year, it's just a small group of our friends just hanging out, having food and watching the ball drop at midnight. So that'll be fun. Then tomorrow morning, it'll just be nice and relaxed and probably watching TV or something.
Yeah. This is going to be, hopefully today and tomorrow, the final episodes of Seahawk Talk here for season 2, because we're hoping to be consumed and bothered in a great way with covering so many games in the spring. So this is the last time we'll get to talk with you on this platform, and for you to reach out to the fans and the listeners. What are your kind of final thoughts here, Sebastian? Anything you want to say either to the fans, to your team, about your team? Kind of give you to deliver a final word.
Yeah, so 2020 again hasn't been the easiest, but I'm super grateful for the Salve community for just including me so graciously. And I'm so excited in 2021 to give more back to that community, whether it be, wins on the volleyball court or just being around campus with a smile on. That's what I'm really excited for.
Awesome. Sebastian, really appreciate you each and every week taking the time to come on here and join us on the program. Really appreciate it. Actually, I just thought I do have one final question for you. You're a Boston Bruins fan, right?
Yep.
What are your thoughts? 2020, there's always one little last trick up its sleeve. What are your thoughts on Zdeno Chara leaving to go to the Washington Capitals?
I've been hurt so much with Tom Brady and Mookie Betts. It's
been a tough year for Boston Stars.
It's been rough. It's been rough for Boston sports fans.
All right. Yeah, Sebastian, appreciate you each and every week coming on here, taking the time, whether you or your players. It's been great to hear from you guys. And yeah, have a happy new year. And we'll be seeing you in person here hopefully shortly.
Awesome. Pez, thank you for doing all this. It's been awesome.
You're welcome. All right, take it easy now. That's Sebastian Noordzy, the head coach of our women's volleyball team. We're going to take a short break and be back with Craig O'Rourke II of our men's soccer team. Don't go anywhere.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
We are here, dear Salve community, during the holiday season and at the end of one of the most challenging years we have ever faced. Despite all of the difficulties, what this year has shown us is that there is an unbreakable spirit at Salve. We have doubled our efforts and somehow found the strength to continue our signature mercy education against all odds. The core of Salve is true and is founded on our community of incredible people, our faculty, who are deeply dedicated to teaching and will always find a way, despite all of the obstacles, to support our students. Our staff, who work so hard to redesign our setting and processes to keep us all safe and secure. Our students, who gamely adjusted to a new learning environment and living environment and inspired us daily. Our alumni, parents, trustees, and friends who never stopped supporting and encouraging us throughout the entire year. You are the Salve community, and your spirit lifts us up during and beyond these times. For this holiday season, I send you and your family deep gratitude and best wishes for healthy times ahead as we look forward to a new year filled with light, hope, and peace. God bless Salve Regina University.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
All right, welcome back to Seahawk Talk. I'm your host, Andrew Pezzelli. We're going to go now to Craig O'Rourke II, the head coach of our men's soccer team. Craig, how?
You're cut out. I didn't hear what you asked. What's that?
I asked how you were doing, Craig.
I'm doing just fine, Andrew. How are you?
I think I already know. I know your Christmas probably went well. Was the best gifts probably weren't under the tree. It was a 2-0 week for Arsenal, correct?
Yes, Arsenal celebrated the national soccer holiday of Boxing Day, what we in the soccer universe refer to as our annual holiday, the Boxing Day matches, with a emphatic 3-1 victory over fellow London club Chelsea, and then we produced our first 2-game winning streak by dispatching of Bournemouth 1-0. So, yes, we're on a 2-game high right now. So, always good to watch Arsenal remind Chelsea who the big club in London is.
Well, you say remind them who's the big club. It was all the young kids, right, in that game?
It wasn't all young kids, but there definitely was a youth movement. We started some of the teenagers, Bukayo Saka, Emile Smith-Rowe, and Gabriel Martinelli across the midfield line, the 3 youngsters. There was definitely a infusion of the youth, but as a lot of pundits have been pointing out, we can't go totally youth and we can't rely totally on the veterans. It has to be a happy mix of both, and that job rests solely on the shoulders of Arteta, Miguel Arteta, our manager, and if he can sort out the right lineup with the infusion of the youth and the experience of the veterans, then hopefully we can extend the winning streak beyond just 2 matches.
Yeah. Infusing youth is something that you as a college coach have to worry about and do every single year. You're not building a team for 10, 11 years. You're building it's a different team every year, and you need to have contributions from your young players if you want to win championships. How do you toe the line when you're recruiting and then in a season, going for talent versus fit for a system? And in a year, do you adjust, say, the system you want to run based off of who's available, or do you try and get guys to just play their best in a system that you decide is, hey, this is our formation, you got to fit in it? How do you balance all that?
That's a very astute question, Andrew. Good for you. Kudos to you for asking. I tell you that is the that is the challenge each year. I've always tried to tell any student athlete that I'm recruiting that I'm not married to any one system of play, whether it be the tactical formation or the style. Anyone who's watched us the past several years knows that our style does tend to be a degree of prolific possession. We want to keep the ball and keep it for long stretches. And in the last 2 seasons, which have been 2 of the best Salve Regina men's soccer has seen in the history of the institution, we've executed out of a 3-4-1-2. That said, I don't think I'm married exclusively to a 3-4-1-2. I've coached 4-4-2, whether it be a flat 4 or diamond. I've coached the 4-1-2-1-2. 3-5-2, 4-1-3-2. I mean, there's any number of tactical formations that we'll use over the course of a season. But ultimately, in recruiting, what you want to find are players who can adapt and play any different number of systems, because they have the soccer IQ and the technical ability and the tactical awareness to fit into different systems of play. Infusing youth, I think, is a necessity, whether you do it right from the opening whistle or do it over the course of the 90 minutes, over the course of the season. Last year, or excuse me, now, Jesus, 2 seasons ago, God help us, 2019 season, we had one freshman who started every match, Nathan Constantino, 22 games, 22 starts. He was the only freshman who started every match, and he was brought in, frankly, to do that. We needed a starting caliber center back operating out of that 3-4-1-2 who could step into the starting role right from the opening whistle of the season, and he was able to do that for us. Then we had other freshmen, Wallens, Winarski, Sock, Reichart, who over the course of the season played valuable minutes for us, whether it be in starting roles or coming in off the bench. And honestly, the most important thing you could ever give a player are those minutes in match, to both develop their own skill set and tactical awareness, as well as to get them the single most valuable thing that every returning player has over any incoming freshman, that being experience. And in the sport of soccer, you'll see at the highest level, the professional ranks, and it's very unique to soccer. There's really no other pro sport that I can think of that does it, whether it be hockey or baseball. If a club has a player who's not factoring into the first team and getting those minutes for that degree of experience, they loan them out to other clubs. Arsenal, the club I support, has a number of talented players currently out on loan, simply because they're not factoring into the first team for Arsenal, not getting selected on match day. And as such, sitting on the bench does you no good in the sport of soccer. You have to be playing it to develop and to hone and to keep yourself fit and fresh. So in soccer, you'll loan players out. We don't have that in the college game. Not that I would ever really want it to be implemented in the college game, but it's very important that players do play regularly. And in how we train day in and day out, week in and week out, throughout the season, we play. I try to approach all my training from a very dynamic mindset, such that I don't have my guys standing around. I don't think they learn through that. I want them playing. I want them in match simulated situations and actually having to deal with things through fluid play, through dynamic courses of action.
I was going to say, that's why having been to your practice is so important. Like you said, you're not getting loaned out. You're going to get your experience and earn your stripes in practice if you're not getting it on the field.
Yeah, and I think that was extremely evident in the 2019 season, our championship run. The 2019 team at the beginning of the season was not picked in the preseason poll to be a prolific power within the Commonwealth Coast Conference, in the fact that we were only really returning 3 starters from the 2018 side that went undefeated through 18 matches, that being team captains Kelly, Medeiros, and McDonald. And yet, because of the fact that 2019 team, those underclassmen, the Guerra, the Hilby, the Ogianos, trained day in and day out against that 2018 team that went undefeated, that was essentially like what the pros would do, loaning them out. They were honed on the training pitch to deal with those different situations and become a more cohesive, dynamic group of very talented, tactically aware players who could then step into match day in the 2019 season and do the things that we wanted to do on the field to be successful. And we saw that over the course of the season, and most definitely in the home stretch as we got towards the later half of the season. Those final games, we took a late season loss on the road to Eastern Nazarene College, a former CCC member who went on to have their best season ever. And for me in my career, it was my first ever loss to Eastern Naz. And I took it very hard. And I had a meeting with my captains afterwards. And I said that if we wanted to contend for the conference championship, we had to be much, much better than what we had displayed on the field that day at Eastern Naz. And my captains kind of put it to me very bluntly. They said, Coach, we got to go 5-0. If we go on a 5-game win streak right now, win out the last 3 games of the regular season, secure the 1 seed, win the semifinal, win the final, we're conference champs. And they said it to me in such a manner that they had every confidence and every belief that they were capable of doing that and that they know that they could do that. And I always say, talk is cheap. Actions will speak far louder. And the proof is in the pudding. And then from that loss, they went out and played at Curry and won 7-1, putting Curry away in the first half. We then went up to Wenham to play at Gordon, which has always historically been a very tough place for Salve teams to play. And they put Gordon away, dramatically outpossessing and outshooting the Scots, and came away with a 4-0 victory, which then set up essentially a default regular season championship between us and Wentworth. The winner of that game would get the number 1 seed for the conference tournament. We were fortunate enough to be able to play that game in Newport on the turf at Topa, and they won that game 4-0 in a match that was 0-0 at halftime. So, at the conclusion of the regular season, having secured the 1 seed, I went, holy cow. I mean, I said to myself, this team is capable of winning it. Yeah. But we had to make sure that we didn't repeat the mistakes from the 2018 season, because quite frankly, the 2018 team was capable of winning it, but failed to do so. And the 2019 team, without really any direction or guidance from me, took their regular season title, frankly, in stride and didn't celebrate it. They knew that they were the regular season champs outright. They weren't co-champs like the 18 team had been. They had secured the 1 seed, but there was no celebration on the field. There was nothing. No one wanted to touch the trophy. No one wanted to, rejoice in the fact that we had secured the regular season title. They wanted to, take the rest, watch the film, and get on with it and get back to the training pitch to get ready for what was now the conference postseason. One of the mantras I've always professed to the team is that only the best teams get to play in the month of November, because as the calendar turns, a lot of seasons come to an end. And, you only get to the postseason by earning the right to be there and showing that you are a capable enough team to play. But as those days in November, continue to go on, seasons continue to end, because, every round of a postseason, someone's eliminated. And then even once you win a conference championship and earn the right to play in the NCAAs, seasons continue to come to an end. And unfortunately, ours did, not in a loss, but in, soccer's solution to soccer's problem, to play 110 minutes, be stalemated at 0-0 and have to go to kicks from the mark. And in those kicks from the mark, unfortunately, we weren't successful in that first round game against Rowan. So, but, hopefully the 2021 team, when it takes the field, will learn from, the mistakes and the transgressions and the errors of the 2019 side.
Would you say this has been your most challenging year as a head coach?
I'll tell you, it's been the most frustrating. I woke up this morning having a very vivid dream of, frankly, coaching. I was coaching a team. It was definitely a Salve team, and I was on a training pitch. It was interesting because it was a grass field in the dream, and I was coaching what Main Street was, the 20-yard width of the 6-yard box, and I was going over the dimensions of the field in Law 1 and how the width of every penalty box on the face of the earth should be exactly the same by the dimensions that are laid out in the laws of the game, Law 1, that every penalty box should be 44 yards in width. And in this training session I was doing in my mind in the dream, I was going over the width of the 6-yard box being 20, then the interior lanes, the two 12-yard segments outside of that width, and then whatever remaining width there was to the touch line being the outside lanes. And it's just interesting that I have found myself, I always dream about soccer in the off season, but my dreams in this off season, because quite frankly, an off season should only be 9 months from when your season ends, whatever point in November, or God be it December in the national Final Four, you then only have 9 months to the following August to get going. Well, this off season, from when the 2019 season ended to when we are able to finally start playing in 2021, whether it be this spring or next fall, it's going to be 15, 16, 17, 21 months. And I think that on a personal level, I'm just not wired to be away from coaching for a period longer than 9 months. And even in that, we do get the 5-week non-traditional segment in the spring where we get to be back out there. And it's largely the sense of team community that I feel personally that I'm missing. I'm very fortunate enough to have a very large alumni base that I've assembled over my time at Salve Regina that I do stay in relatively close contact with, most notably through the EPL, and professional soccer across the globe is contested over the course of 10 months. There's not like the pro sports in the US where you have the football season, the basketball season, hockey season, baseball season. Soccer season, frankly, is all year round. I mean, even in those 2 months in the summer, June and July, when the professional leagues are off, you have the international competitions that FIFA regulates, whether it be the World Cup, the Confederations Cup, the Euros, your local confederation championships. But over the course of the Premier League season, these 10 months, my alumni, whether they be Chelsea supporters or Man U supporters, or if they support potatoes and be Spud supporter, the Tottenham guys, we're always texting each other, and we're always in communication constantly. You know, whether it be jovial or contemptuous, especially when Arsenal beats Chelsea 3-1. I made sure the Chelsea guys heard about that. But that's kept me sane to a degree. As much as I hear myself say that, I know my sanity somewhat is in question at times.
Relatively, on a relative scale of Craig O'Rourke II.
Exactly. But I just miss it. I am really honestly struggling right now. And, you know, recruiting is something you have going on year in and year out. And it goes for, frankly, 12 months, whether you're texting or calling or emailing. And we're having a degree of success right now in recruiting, most probably notably because we can look at our 2 most recent seasons and say that we are, 30 wins, 5 losses, 7 draws over the last 2 years that we've contested. But not being on the field, not developing the talent, not working towards having a cohesive system of play right now is honestly, it's wearing on me. I just miss it.
Yeah.
God bless my family for putting up with me right now, because I can't imagine, because I mean, my wife catches me every now and then, just being lost in thought or talking to myself in the mirror and developing a practice plan. And I just know what I'm doing. And it's because I don't have that captive audience that usually gives me the opportunity to do those things. So it's just,
you're standing on the soapbox to no one, Craig.
Huh?
I said, you're standing on the soapbox to no one.
Exactly. I mean, the mirror only nods back so much. I mean, the thing is, the mirror never talks back. So, but I'm desperate to get back out there and get after it. I mean, God, to all the referees who may or may not be listening, enjoy this time of not having to put up with me. But God, I cannot wait to get back out there and torment you. So,
in a way, Craig, because of that, do you think when you do return to the field, when you get players back, that there's just going to be tremendous buy-in from everybody, because everybody does miss it, coaches miss it, players miss it, that there won't be, as hard as it was maybe to keep people motivated through the summer and this fall and with restrictions, that it'll be that much easier the other way, because you're not going to have to worry about getting guys excited for practice. They're going to be thrilled to be at practice. Maybe until you run them, but
yeah. You always hope that. I think every coach, regardless of the sport, hopes that the players they have assembled, whether it be at the youth level, the college level, or the professional level, are going to have that degree of intrinsic motivation to want to be there and to want to buy in and to want to better themselves, such that when the game or the match or the contest comes, that they're ready to prove themselves under those situations of being tested. I think I've been very fortunate, particularly in the last few seasons, because of the degree of success we've had. Our guys have always genuinely, from at least my degree of perception, enjoyed being there and enjoyed getting after it. I hope that hasn't diminished, and I'd be shocked, frankly, if it did. I mean, probably the single most common question that I get posed by our current rostered athletes is, have you heard anything about the spring yet? Our guys,
yeah.
Our guys want to know, are we good to go? Are we ready? My hat looks crooked. It's always tough with the camera. It's a mirror image. But But I think they'll be ready to go. I genuinely do. I think that, or at least I've convinced myself, whenever we do get back out there, that we're just going to have the appetite and the drive and the desire. What I do worry about is, and as we touched upon earlier with the professional game and how they loan players out, soccer needs to be played. It really does, because when you are off for long periods and you're not playing, you're not in game situations, your skill set diminishes. And the analogy we make is that we get the rust on, and we have to scrape off the rust and start honing our touch and start getting our speed of play back up to where it needs to be. That I worry about. I worry about the degree of rust, which is inevitable in any break, whether it be us going into the fall or after the fall season when we get ready and ramp up in the spring. There's always that degree of rust that has to be scraped off to get ourselves back up to game speed and to the degree of functionality that we want to be at. And that is the one area that I am worried about, because as you scrape off the rust, or as you start to, there is the frustration of the high-level athlete who knows what they are capable of, knows what it takes to be successful at the level they aspire to play at, and how they're not going to be right at that when we do get going. And that's going to be tough. And that will be honestly my greatest challenge, and my assistant coaches, my staff's greatest challenge, is to frame it in such a way that we do approach it in an incremental manner to allow our guys to work towards incremental goals to ultimately achieve that high level degree of precision and speed of play and awareness and execution, because they're not going to be at that. It's going to be 15 to 21 months of rust, and that's a degree of rust that we haven't had to encounter because we've never had this situation where we haven't played matches in over a calendar year, and that's going to be a daunting task. And that's not just for me; that's for every college coach. Frankly, not just in our sport, but potentially all the sports, depending on how these next few months play out for the NCAA.
So this is our final week of Seahawk Talk here for season 2, the final episode of 2020 today. Craig, what are your final words, last thoughts on the year that was, and your final word here for Seahawk Talk?
I heard Coach Gilmartin's. I popped on earlier, and Kevin. I never knew this about Kevin, but I guess Kevin's the optimist on the staff for saying that it wasn't a bad year. It was a great year, just in a different way. 2020 was difficult, and what I've always professed to my guys is life is going to throw you obstacles, and how you respond to those obstacles and how you develop ways to overcome them is what defines you as a man, both through word and your actions. And 2020 definitely was a one heck of a set of obstacles, one right after another with the pandemic. I hope that as a society and as a culture and as a planet, we have learned to slow down and put emphasis on the more important things, and that entertainment, going to the movies, pro sports, the things that we busied our life with and filled our life with, weren't as important as the values, the relationships, the family, that we were forced to step back and evaluate in 2020. I hope that the things that we gained this year by being forced to slow down and stay home aren't lost when the pandemic is over, the vaccine is disseminated, and life picks back up again and we start to get busy. I hope we as a society, we as individuals, remember to take stock of the important things in our life, and that we don't lose sight of those things. And on a quick side note, to all the listeners out there, I discovered that the best French toast is made with Portuguese sweetbread. Forget Italian bread, forget French bread. Portuguese sweetbread is the avenue to life-changing French toast. Just discovered that this week. Wanted to share that. I'm up to 7 pineapple upside down cakes for those who are keeping count.
Just because Seahawk Talk is ending, we can tease. You know how Disney, like, a show ends and then they announce like 7 more shows. We could start up cooking with Craig. I mean, it certainly could be, coming in 2022. He's only got 2 years off.
I honestly, Portuguese sweetbread, and I've done grilled cheese with it. Wow, Portuguese sweetbread right now is what I am going to take from 2020 and into 2021. Portuguese sweetbread, life-changing.
Awesome. Craig, I couldn't have put in better words the way you kind of summed up there. Always appreciate you taking the time to come on here, whether you or players or assistant coaches. It's always fun, and I enjoy being able to see you, interact with you, and then having you on here with the program to give us some fun here on the Seahawk Talk program. So hopefully be seeing you soon, face-to-face, nose-to-nose, broadcasting you screaming at officials. I cannot wait for it.
I just want to always make sure that the officials know how I can help and give them the benefit of my experience. And I don't want them to ever think that I'm ignoring them in any way, shape, or form. I always want to share my thoughts and give them what I can, because officials, hey, the 3 parts of the game, it takes 3 teams, the visitor, the home team, and the team of officials. That is the happy melding that makes college soccer happen. So, Andrew, a pleasure. I miss you. I miss everybody at Salve. I cannot wait to be in the dining hall partaking in their pineapple upside down cake with you at some point in the near future, hopefully in 2021.
Awesome. Have a happy new year. And like you said,
happy new year.
See you soon.
See ya. Bye.
Take it easy now. That's Craig O'Rourke II, the head coach of our men's soccer team. We're going to take a very quick break and be right back with the producers to wrap up today's show. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Seahawk Talk. I'm your host, Andrew Pezzelli. I want to bring in the producers now, Early and Mike DeFusco, to close out today's show. Where'd Mike go? Oh.
Sometimes I bring him in, but then sometimes Mike brings himself in and then fun.
I was trying to make a last-second banner there. That's why I was so second getting it. Sorry, Charlie.
Fellas, this is the end of 2020. Thank goodness.
Woohoo!
What are your closing thoughts here on the year and on today's show?
I'm going to take a page from Craig O'Rourke and just say, Portuguese sweetbread is life-changing, and I am going to try to find that now. That's what I'm taking from today's show, from the year, like they all said. You can't put it much better than they put it. Just take the
there we go. Okay.
Life's going to throw you a curveball, so just...
That is not the tangent I thought he was going to go on, but I did like before that we were saying about slowing down and everything. Reminds me of the Sunday morning from last week where they talked about like how we slowed down so much this year. There were fish in like the Hudson River or something. No, Venice canals were so like unpolluted. There were fish came back.
Yeah,
stuff like that. Yeah, Portuguese sweetbread.
Joey and Mike, any other closing thoughts from anything our guests had to say today, or anything else you want to bring in before we close out 2020?
Yeah, I'll share the things I talked. The things I talked about earlier. I won't bring it up the picture, but I wanted, because there wasn't any news originally that I was finding. I wanted to see how monoliths were ending 2020, and I just typed monolith into Google, and it did not disappoint. Another monolith appeared in Houston. It is either made out of cardboard or plastic. And then that's that story. It's really, there's nothing more than there's a monolith. It's just like on a sidewalk. But the real story that I saw at the beginning, and I'm surprised none of you guys brought it up, this thing, which I'm kind of confused on how it works, so I'm going to have to take your NBA knowledge, but Becky Hammon becomes the first woman to serve as head coach in NBA history. So is this because, so it says the Spurs coach got ejected. Is that what that means? Like, does the assistant coach then become the head coach? Is that how it works?
Yeah. So I mean, usually, so if you in any sport, if the head coach gets ejected, if we were talking to Coach Sorella, I know he's gone through this. He's gotten into it. Same with Craig O'Rourke. They've had their bouts with officials. What happens is you're tossed, get out. So you usually have a card or a playbook, you hand that to your assistant, and you say, "All right, you're the coach now," and they have to, because you have to leave. You're ejected.
Yeah,
you're tossed from the game.
I would still call them the assistant coach. Is the reason why I wasn't sure if he got fired or something.
No.
Okay, that's what I thought it was.
Becky Hammond though, she should be a head coach. She was
I
in the
think she
running
should.
for some jobs in the offseason this year. Didn't get any. I don't know how much of maybe teams' unwillingness to let a woman be the head coach factored into that. But I think this will be her final year as an assistant coach. I do believe she'll have a head coaching job next year in the NBA, not in the WNBA, not at a college, which obviously she could do. But I believe that she will have an NBA coaching gig next year. So this was awesome for her. This was an awesome moment. Greg Popovich never one to keep anything from the officials, like Craig said, making the officials aware that he's there, of his presence and his knowledge. But yeah, it was an awesome moment for Becky. They did lose the game.
I was gonna say, did they win? It doesn't say they won.
And the thing is, though, because of the way NBA bookkeeping works, the Spurs lost that game, but the record of the game is charged to the head coach who started the game, not whoever for coaching.
I thought you were going to say it went on to her, and I was going to be mad.
So, no, she doesn't get the loss. If they had gotten the win,
good.
It would have been, it wouldn't have mattered. I mean, she, in all essence, depending on how much of the game you coached and how she did, she would get due credit for it one way or another. But yeah, that was an awesome moment last night for her.
This kind of came full circle too. This might have been the first story I think you brought up, Pez, like for the whole Seahawk this season 2 of Seahawk Talk.
That's true.
There was something early, yeah.
And now we're ending with her as a head coach, even though it was temporary. She as you said, most likely had a head coaching job.
4 minutes in the second quarter. That's more than half the game left. Like that's like 75% of the game.
Yeah.
So pretty good.
So, fellas, that'll do it for 2020. I will see you next year. We will be live tomorrow for the season finale of Seahawk Talk, New Year's Day edition. But in the meantime, hope you both have a happy New Year's Eve, safe New Year's Eve, and I'll see you next year.
That's it. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
All right, that's Joy Morelli and Mike DeFusco, the producers here on Seahawk Talk. We're live every day, Monday through Friday, but this is the final week. Today was the second to last show. Tomorrow will be the final episode of Seahawk Talk for Season 2. We may have some announcements to bring to you at the end of the day. But for the meantime, in the short term, it'll be our final episode of Seahawk Talk. Wanted to get one show in on the new year. The schedule just happened to wind up perfectly like that. So thank you to our guests here today. We had Kevin Gilmartin, Sebastian Noordzy, and Craig O'Rourke II. Appreciate them, as I told them, and I'll say again, happy to have them on the show, them taking their time, whether it be them, their assistant coaches, or players, to come on each and every week and join us here on the Seahawk Talk program. Always awesome to see them and get their insights and hear their stories. So, last show tomorrow, 3 p.m. here on the Salve Athletics Network. Facebook, YouTube, or Periscope through Twitter. Just search for Salve Athletics. Like, follow, and subscribe on all of those platforms to see tomorrow's show live. Go back and watch any past episode of the show. And you can also subscribe to the Seahawk Talk podcast through Sounder FM or wherever you get your podcast from to take Seahawk Talk on the go. That'll do it for today. Happy New Year, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow for the season finale. I'm Andrew Pezzelli. Stay safe, everyone.